boy, you're saying it's that cheap? Okay, wait a minute, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Where exactly are we going with this video that I'm recording right after I published the last one? Well, let's talk about Detroit Red Wings trades, and let's talk about trade prices. Because earlier this morning, published by Adam Gretz on BR Open Ice and Bleacher Report, we have ourselves 4 trade packages for EK65. Adam Gretz went out there and proposed 4 different packages for the Carolina Hurricanes, the Ottawa Senators, the Detroit Red Wings, and the Dallas Stars that sees each of these franchises trading for Erik Karlsson. So, I'm going to leave a link in the description to this article that was posted on Bleacher Report earlier this morning. Or, no, the article actually was from July 28, excuse me, but the tweet itself was from today. So, Bleacher Report doing a pretty good job in cross-promoting and future-promoting their articles. But let's dive into what Gretz goes out there and says here on this Bleacher Report piece. The Penguins remain one of the most fascinating teams to watch this offseason, as they still hold 3 of the most intriguing trade chips that could be available. That not only includes Brian Russ and Rickard Rakell, but also D-man Erik Karlsson. Funny how that doesn't include Sidney Crosby. Okay, I kid. Sorry. Hey. It remains to be seen if any of these guys will be dealt this summer, but there is a good chance at least one will be changing teams as part of the Penguins' ongoing rebuild. Karlsson has spent the past 2 seasons in Pittsburgh during a roller coaster tenure. He arrived with much fanfare and hype 2 years ago in the hopes he could keep their window for contention open a little while longer. It didn't work out as planned, as the Penguins missed the playoffs the next 2 years. While Karlsson's offensive production remains mostly strong, his defensive play has dropped off, and his overall play is not what it was when he was at his Norris Trophy peak. AKA scoring 100 points. It's kind of hard to do that when you're not the number 1 power play guy anymore. The Penguins would probably love to move on from his salary, and Karlsson would probably welcome a chance to play on a team closer to the playoffs so he can maybe play for a Stanley Cup winning team. Along with his declining play, he also has a salary cap hit of $10 million per season over the next 2 years. A lot of this isn't really, new. We've talked about this before, but just to go over the profile one more time here, Erik Karlsson does have an $11.5 million cap hit. Was their salary retained with the Pittsburgh Penguins and the San Jose Sharks? Something like that? I'm not really too sure. Yeah, there you go. 13.04% of the contract was retained by San Jose in the trade to the Penguins. So, yeah, okay, this is kind of interesting. Puckpedia, please find a way to display salary retained numbers on your website, because people are going to go over onto this page, they're going to see Erik Karlsson, they're going to see Pittsburgh, and they're going to think that he's at an $11.5 million cap hit against Pittsburgh's cap. But that's not true. It doesn't say anywhere on this page what his actual cap hit amount is against Pittsburgh's cap. So, yeah, Puckpedia, y'all gotta find a way to do that. On Elite Prospects, it used to be, if you went over to the cap hit section over here, it used to show the post-salary retention cap hit. And then if you highlighted it over, you would see the full cap hit. That's what it used to be when Cap Friendly was coordinated with Elite Prospects to do this. But I think a lot of folks will be confused now, so please, just try to get the framework and the coding properly implemented to make that represented the right way. Of course, anybody from Elite Prospects or Puckpedia is going to see this, but we should probably be on our toes thinking about that. So, this article actually has it right. Karlsson has that cap hit of $10 million per season over the next 2 years after the salary retention from San Jose. But he also has no trade protections and can dictate where or if he moves. There are still some factors that could produce a trade, and he still might be able to help a contender. The key for the Penguins is not necessarily getting a huge return, but getting out from a contract they no longer want. So let's take a look at 4 potential options that might make some sense. Now, let's scroll past all of the other ones. Let's scroll by Carolina and the Ottawa Senators before diving into the third trade proposal, the Detroit Red Wings. The trade. The Red Wings would get Erik Karlsson, and the Penguins would get Carter Mazur or Shai Buium and a top 15 first-round pick. That's it? That's it. One prospect and a first? Now, granted, the first-round pick, top 15, that's pretty high, especially for next year's draft. Next year's draft is going to be really stacked. But it just says first-round pick. It doesn't say a 2026 first-round pick. Maybe it's in 2027. Who really knows? Carter Mazur or Shai Buium. That's it, eh? There should be more urgency and desperation coming from the Wings this offseason. The playoff drought is closing in on a decade. They've had a slow and methodical process under Steve Yzerman's watch. They still have more than $12 million in salary cap space, and their current right-shot D-men are Seider and Justin Hall. That's not great. It's certainly not good enough. Something has to give here. The cap space is there. The need is there. They have the trade assets. They just need the urgency and desire to actually want to try to get better. After missing out on nearly every major free agent, they will have to dip into the trade market to improve. This would be a big improvement even if Erik Karlsson has some flaws. He wouldn't be required to be the top defense option. That's Seider's job, and he could really add some much-needed offensive spark to a relatively punchless defense. Something centered around prospects like Carter Mazur or Shai Buium, along with a top 15 protected first-round pick, could be a starting point. That's what it means. Top 15 protected, not top 15 first-round pick. I'm like, 15th overall, that's still pretty good. 14th or 13th, you could get some pretty good names. Nah, top 15 protected first-round pick. If the first ends up in the top 15, sorry folks, you guys are getting next year's draft pick, not that one. Let's talk about these two prospects now, shall we? We already made a video the other day talking about Carter Mazur and his 2024-2025. Quite frankly, it was very disappointing. Not because he sucked, but because he got hurt, and he ended up getting hurt in his very first game for the Detroit Red Wings on his second shift. He ended up going for a hit, and he ended up hitting the wrong way, and it was awkward, and he got hurt, and he was in front of all his family and friends, so it was a really disappointing way for Carter Mazur to start out his National Hockey League playing career. But at 23 years old, being a consistent producer in the NCAA and the AHL, I think there's a lot to like here out of Carter Mazur. Longer term, I question just what the upside is. Is he a middle six forward? Is he a strictly bottom six guy? I'm not really too sure about that. 23 definitely has some room to grow, but it's not super young, if you catch what I mean. And then you also have Shai Buium over here, who is the brother of Zeev Buium, a very, very good prospect for, I believe it was the Minnesota Wild. Was he drafted there? Yes, it was the Minnesota Wild. Zeev Buium is going to be very, very good long term. He was over a point per game for the Denver Pioneers. But Shai Buium had himself a very good run in that organization too. This previous year, he had 25 points in 67 games for the Grand Rapids Griffins. Also is a D-man. He's a big dude. He is a strong guy. I do think just because of the fact that Mazur has already played in the NHL, and I think there's a more projectable role for him at the next level at this moment, I think Shai Buium is a little bit more expendable at that regard, although you could definitely say that the Red Wings need more defense and that they need more younger guys to step in to fill in the likes of Ben Sherratt and Justin Hall, Gustafsson, etc. I mean, if you get Erik Karlsson, you're probably not using Gustafsson on the top power play anymore, right? So that kind of becomes the conversation you open up with that. So I honestly like it a lot. Top 15 protected first-round pick, plus one of Mazur or Buium. If it were up to me, I can understand the argument for both. You can say, hey, there are enough forwards already, just send away Carter Mazur. I think Mazur has a little bit more upside in the short term compared to Buium, so maybe I would be leaning Buium to be traded plus a pick for Erik Karlsson. But then again, if you want to start building on the back end, you want to get those younger defensemen in, maybe Carter Mazur is more expendable. You want to keep Buium instead with Erik Karlsson, with Axel Sandin-Pellikka, with everybody else that the Wings have cooking in their system. But for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the idea of an Erik Karlsson trade for this trade package? Do the Penguins say yes? What are your thoughts from the Detroit point of view? Let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.